Hey you guys, this is Jess with Sourceful Journey, back with another video. So today I wanted to focus on the topic of questioning God. Something that's often not spoken about because a lot of times we do it innately and not realize that in fact that's what we are truly doing. And to be quite honest, in doing so, it's showing a lack of faith in God. I wanted to share my thoughts about that. So without further ado, I'm gonna go ahead and just jump right in. So the idea of questioning God, a lot of times as beings, we tend to do that innately without even realizing it. And we think that it's harmless, like, oh, it's just a part of our nature, right? Granted, it is, but in a way that shows a lack of faith in God and trusting the process. And we're doing that, not realizing that's exactly what's being done. We have to come up with ways to kind of thwart that, come up with ways that kind of gets us back on track where we still have such a solid faith in the process and in God and the spiritual team. I'll use myself as an example again, as I always do. So I've done that on plenty of occasions when I felt things weren't moving at the pace that I wanted it, or if I felt that things didn't pan out the way I expected it, I would question God in the process. And not saying that I, lose respect in God, but again, it's just a part of human nature, understand? So for me, my way of kind of thwarting that thought process, if you will, was I just simply would think back to the times where God has truly came through. The spiritual team truly came through for me. When things that I've wanted, my heart's desires, if you will, came to fruition. I let those be my reminders that if it was done before, it could definitely be done again. And that, my friend, is how I choose to approach it. Whenever I feel my mind is going back into that mode of being uncertain, the mode of, showing lack of faith, I think back to those examples. And that snaps me back into focus and said, well, if it was done once, it can definitely be done again. I'm going to encourage others to do the same. Again, in this journey, this thing called life, it's a tough one. And the moment people can slow down and realize that maybe the reason why certain things have not panned out the way they expected it or at all is because in some way or another, we are the cause of that. We are the crux. We are the key factor in the equation for why whatever our heart truly desires has not come to fruition in the form we want it, or just has not shown up in at all, actually, to be quite frank. We're so quick to want to point the finger, about why this didn't pan out the way I expected it, or why it did not pan out at all, without actually taking time to slow up and think, could I have been the cause of why this came about? Could I have been the reason why this did not pan out as I expected it, or at all for that matter? And again, it's all starts up here because thoughts become things. What you think internally, you don't even have to spew it. You don't even have to state it. Just your simple thought process alone, because it all begins here, is what triggers the after effects. Some people think that, if it's not stated, it doesn't matter. No, it's actually the other way around. The fact that you thought it and you maintained that thought is what caused whatever it is that you were looking at to come to fruition. I actually spoke about this in a previous video, now that I think about it. To be careful with not only your thoughts, but be careful with the tongue. Some would say, and I remember this in the Christian text, they would say the power of the tongue is evil. Just remember hearing that quite often coming up, spoken of in terms of the Bible text or in church. And I never quite understood why even from the Christian perspective, why they felt that that was the case. And other religions thereafter, other religions feel the same too, feel the same way also, I should say, excuse me. But coming from a Christian-based background from my end, when I used to hear that, I'm like, I never quite understood the severity of it. Like, is it really that bad? And then as, you know, time progresses onward and you get older and you start living this thing called life, you start to realize, wait, there is some truth behind that. So I say all that to say, you know, you have to be careful with what we state, but also be careful with your thoughts too, because thoughts become things. So a lot of times you may say, I'll give you an example, another example. I just thought about this. I remember I think it was my 8th grade graduation. I'll never forget this. I remember, you know, we had to form a line to go on stage to get our little diploma, if you are, high school diploma. It's a high school, no, I'm sorry. I guess it was junior high. I think it's junior high, technically, right? Anyhow, right before I got into high school, let's put it that way. So I remember when we were in line, I was getting ready to go up the stairs, and I kept thinking, because there were so many people in there, and I was like thinking to myself, Jessica, don't fall, or Jessica, don't trip. Jessica, don't trip. So I kept telling myself to not trip going up the stairs, that is. And the fact I kept thinking it, I kept thinking to myself, at some point I'm going to trip. And what happened? I tripped going up the stairs. It happened. I'll never forget that. And now that I think about it, I'm like, if my thought process was different then at the time, I probably could have avoided that. I probably could have avoided it. But, you know, I was so focused on it and maintaining my composure, getting up those stairs without any issues. Because I've seen so many scenarios where people did trip going up the stairs. And I just didn't want to be that person that day, especially on my graduation day. But I made something appear to be so big when it was actually something that was so minute. And again, the fact that I was thinking it to myself. I think in some way I brought that about because of that thought alone. That is all for today's video. What are you guys' thoughts about that? And really just, you know, showing more of a stronger faith in God and the spiritual team. Just knowing that they are going to have our back and to stop questioning it. And I guess you could say in some way, you know, being careful with your thoughts, because your thoughts become things. You know, what are you guys' thoughts about that? You know, give me some examples of times where you kind of encountered similar scenarios, and what differences did you notice? It'll be good to hear from you guys. So as always, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe if you haven't done so already. You can continue to still email me or send messages on my other platforms as well as here. You guys have been amazing about that. Definitely keep that going. What else? Oh yes, consultations are still open for this week, except Thursday and Friday, because I'm actually working on another project. But in the meantime, definitely take advantage if it is something that's of interest to you. And with that being said, as always, I'm definitely sending you guys with love and light, and I'll see you in the next video. All right, have a great day, guys.